Good morning, students. Welcome to Chapter 3. Today, in this video, I will talk about Section 5.1 and 5.2. And we'll talk about bisectors, medians, altitudes of a triangle. So first question, what is a perpendicular bisector? We already talked about bisector. In other words, to bisect something, angle or segment, it means to divide exactly in the middle, so two congruent parts. And perpendicular means technically right angle, okay? And equidistant, the definition is it's the same distance. So please take a look at the two pictures we have over here. Perpendicular bisectors. In section 1.3, you learned that a segment bisector is any segment, line, or plane that intersects a segment at its midpoint. So in other words, a bisector is just like a midpoint, okay? It has to be exactly in the middle. If a bisector is also perpendicular to the segment, okay, it's called a perpendicular bisector. So look at the picture on the left over here, okay? We know that this line bisects segment AB, and how do I know it? You see tick mark, okay? So line, the one in red, bisects segment AB, but PQ is not the perpendicular bisector. PQ bisects segment AB, but is not perpendicular. Now, if you look at the picture on the right, okay, this segment bisects segment JK, and how do I know it? You see two tick marks, okay? But on top of it, it's also called a perpendicular bisector. Why perpendicular? Because of this, okay? So RS is a perpendicular bisector of segment JK. So problem of the day. AB is a perpendicular bisector of CD. So we have to mark the picture. AB is a perpendicular bisector of CD. So I know two things, okay? B is the midpoint. So in other words, CB is congruent to BD, but also I know that that's a right angle. Why? It's a perpendicular bisector. Okay, so please mark the picture. What do I know? CE is congruent to ED. Okay, CB is equal to 3 units, and ED is equal to 7. So this segment over here is equal to 7 units. The question is, how long is segment BE? So in other words, I am looking for this segment in green. So that's your X. Okay? And how do I do this? If this segment is 3, this segment is also 3. And what I want you to do right now, please look at the picture in blue. Okay, I'm going to copy the picture over here. The picture in blue looks like this. This is 3, this is X, and this is 7. Okay? So how do I find the value of X? If you look at this triangle, it's a right triangle, and somewhere in Algebra 1 or pre-algebra, you talk about the Pythagorean term. If you recall the Pythagorean term, you have A, B, C, and A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. Okay? So in this case, your hypotenuse is 7. So you get X squared plus 3 squared is equal to 7 squared. Or X squared, not cubed. So you get X squared plus 9. Please remember, 3 times 3 is not 6. It's 9 equals 49. Subtract 9 from both sides. So X squared is equal to 40. Okay? And square root, X is equal to square root of 40. Okay? Now, you can also simplify this. I don't know if you remember this, but 40 can be written as 4 times 10. So you can also rewrite this as 2 radical 10. So how long is segment BE? Segment BE is equal to 2 radical 10. Okay? Next definition, median. Many students think about median as the middle number. Arithmetic mean you add the numbers and then divide by how many numbers you had. But median is the middle number. So think about middle, median, middle. Okay? So the definition is this. A median of a triangle is a segment with endpoints being a vertex. So this is your median, okay? And one endpoint is the vertex, and the other endpoint is the midpoint of the opposite side. So point D is the midpoint. Why is it midpoint? Because you see the 2 tick marks, okay? Since AD is congruent to DB, point D has to be the midpoint. So CD is a median of triangle ABC. Again, a median of a triangle is a segment with endpoints being a vertex of a triangle and the midpoint of the opposite side. Now, the last definition is the altitude, okay? When you talk about area of a triangle, many times the teacher would say area equals 1/2 base times height. Or sometimes the teacher will say multiply the base times the altitude and then divide by 2. So altitude. An altitude of a triangle is a segment from the vertex to the line containing the opposite side and perpendicular to the line containing that side. So this red segment, or actually blue in this case, it's an altitude. Why is it altitude? It's perpendicular to the opposite side, and it also starts with the vertex. An altitude can lie in the interior, exterior, or it could also lie on the triangle if a triangle is a right triangle. Because in this case, the green segment is your altitude. Okay? So again, please memorize the definitions. Okay, so far we talked about perpendicular bisector, we talked about median, and we talked about altitude. Okay, so let's take a look at one problem. Okay, so example, if MS is a median of triangle MNQ. If MS is a median of triangle MNQ. So MNQ is this triangle in green. And we told you that MS is a median. So this is your median. So what does this mean? Okay, median, if you look at the definition on previous page, it basically, the other endpoint is the midpoint. So this means that QS is congruent to SN. So S is the midpoint of segment QN. What do we know? QS is 3A minus 14. SN is 2A plus 1. Okay? And the measure of angle MSQ, which is this angle, okay, I will put arrow over there. This angle is 7A plus 1. So first question is find the value of A. So we just said that QS is congruent to SN. So 3A minus 14 is equal to 2A plus 1. Okay, if you move 2A to the other side, you get A minus 14 equals 1. Add 14 to both sides. A is equal to 15. Okay, so A is equal to 15. Now look at the second question. Is MS an altitude? So in other words, is this green segment an altitude? Okay, think about the definition of altitude. Altitude has to be perpendicular to the base. Okay, so the question is this angle over here a right angle? In other words, is the measure of that angle 90 degrees? So how do you check it? Okay, we just told you that measure of angle MSQ is equal to 7A plus 1. So let's substitute 15 for A. So you get 7 times 15 plus 1. Okay, what's 7 times 15? 7 times 10 is 70. That would be 105 plus 1, that would be 106. So the measure of angle MNQ is 106 degrees. Therefore, is MS an altitude? The answer is no. Not an altitude because we don't have a right angle. Okay? And the final question for this video is given triangle ABE. Okay, find the slope of median of segment, so median AD. So where would be the median AD? The median would be over here. And this has to be the midpoint. Okay? I'm going to call this point D. Now, let's recall. How do we find a midpoint? Okay? So how do we find a midpoint of this black segment? Midpoint is the middle. So midpoint, the formula is x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, comma y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. Okay, so this is the formula for midpoint. So I get -4 plus 6 divided by 2. In other words, I'm taking the average of the x coordinates and then the average of the y coordinate, which will be 3 plus 5 divided by 2. Okay? If you do your arithmetic, -4 plus 6 is 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, 3 plus 5 is 8, 8 divided by 2 is 4. So the midpoint is 1, 4. Okay, so point D is 1, 4. And if you check it, it is 1, 4 because you go 1 to your right, 4 off. Okay? So now the second question is, what is the slope of the median AD? So now the second question is, what is the slope of this segment? Okay? So recall slope formula, M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Okay? So the slope of line AE will be 4 minus 10 divided by 1 minus -2. Okay? So if you simplify this, you get -6. Please remember, 1 minus -2 becomes 1 plus 2, which is 3. Okay? And if you simplify this, the final answer is -2. So slope is equal to -2. Okay? Thank you for watching this video, and if you have to, watch it again. Have a good day.